Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 21st, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people. Oh, hate this. I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I use to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, with this in mind, today we're going to be looking at the reality behind the near-death experience. Now, before we get into it, however, I do want to say, I do want to tip my hat to Storm, who is keeping all the technology working, hopefully. Sadly, I ran into tech problems today and it just buckled. But that's me and tech. Okay, but Storm is also the primary moderator to make sure that we don't get problem children in the room. And yet he keeps letting me in here. Now, then we have LA, who is watching and who does her best to keep an eye on my health, which is a real wonderful challenge. However, I did actually get dinner before I got on here. Now, here's a neat little thing. Couple of major misnomers. First of all, I don't bother with the near-death experience myself. I just literally, and I'm not going to try and prove this to anybody, you can do with it what you will. I've had enough trips over the threshold that we don't call it near-death, we just call it death. It's just I kind of joke about it in a way and go, God doesn't want me and Satan's afraid I'll take over. But a couple of little misnomers here. Okay, number one. Literally, there is no segregation in heaven. You die. Doesn't matter what color you are, what you call your God, who you sleep with, who you pray to, who you worship. It doesn't matter who you vote for or how much money you've got. Now, here's the real kicker. People, plants, animals, elementals, aliens, you all go to the same flaming place. And yes, I said flaming because I could have said something else. Okay, there's a lot that goes on over there. But there are a couple of things they got right. Okay, you've heard about about going into the light. When you pass away, that's where you go. Okay, you're encouraged to go into the light. Some of you make it, some of you don't. Well, here's the kicker. That light, you do have to go to it, or at least it's advisable. Okay. Oh, by the way, for those of you inclined that way, hate to be the one to pop your bubble, or to pop the bubble if you're thinking somebody else should go there. People that commit suicide do not go to hell. I'm recommending against the suicide thing because here's the whole catch. If you die before you learn what you chose to come here and gain wisdom around, you get to come back here and do it again. And there's many of you that have some pretty serious misconceptions, okay, about the whole idea of reincarnation, which we will have to deal with on another day before I get myself totally sidetracked. Okay, but when you pass away, you do end up in what many of you will call purgatory. Okay, purgatory is a simple place. That's where everybody gathers without your cars, which means spirits, your body does not go with you. Hate to tell you this, but those of you that have a lot of material stuff, you'd think we got the message from the Egyptians. You can't take the material world with you. Okay, it doesn't work that way. What they did get right is when you pass over, you will meet You will meet your loved ones that have gone there before. Okay. You will also experience your life as it flashes before your eyes. What they don't tell you is this: when you pass away, your life flashes before your eyes via the eyes of those you dealt with. In other words, if you spent your life basically being kind to people, working towards helping them, you're likely to feel a lot of handshakes, a lot of pats on the back, a lot of hugs, this sort of thing. If on the other if on the other hand, you are one of these people that has spent your life bullying other people, beating on them, stealing from them, you know, humiliating them, whatever, you will feel every punch, every kick, every cutting word all at once. Okay, this is just the reality behind it. I call it reality because I've been there often enough to know that's the way it works. And yeah, somebody out there is going to be sitting there going, that's what it is for you, but that's not the way it is for me. I don't believe that. I don't care if you believe it. That's the good part from my end. It's kind of like whether you believe in gravity. You don't have to believe it, but I virtually guarantee you step off the staircase without paying attention, gravity's going to kick your butt. Okay. Now, I love the way I saw one bumper sticker years ago. It said, for those of you that don't believe in God, you better pray you're right. Operation Shutdown, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And yes, I've gone through some challenges last couple of weeks. Frankly, my fiance came to town, and that's where my day went. But after a long deliberation in the middle of all of this, I'm not shutting this down, but technology seems to be a pain in the neck. Now, for those of you that go, well, I had such a miserable life and I've been told I'm going to go to hell. Count your stars lucky, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But here's the neat little kicker to it. Okay. Let's say the first part of your life was a shambles and you spent it ripping people off, hurting people, and what have you. Okay, it's very much a scales thing. If you spent your life treating people poorly, okay, it tilts the scales really badly. You're not going to have a good outcome here. But let's say partway through your life, let's say that you get the halfway mark and you go, oh, I've been in absolute shambles. I finally got the message. Storm goes, I can't go to hell. Satan still has a restraining order against me. Well, I got some good news for you there, Storm. Considering the fact I've been called the devil incarnate, I'm just going to have to lift that restraining order. I was talking to a lady in the mall one day. I don't know what I said, but she turns around and she goes, there's a place in hell for somebody like you. I looked at her and I said, yep, they call it the throne. But, if you spend the first half of your life being an absolutely miserable individual, and then you get a wake-up call, and for whatever reason, you all of a sudden go, no, I've got to start dealing with people properly. Okay, I've got to start treating people nice. What happens is, yes, you're still going to feel that chastisement, that violence that you propagated. Okay. And but you're also going to get all the handshakes, all the pats on the back. You're going to end up having a much more relaxing passing. Now, here's the neat part. Just something that a purely logic-based archaeologist told me one day. He goes, Keith, I'm pretty certain that people that believe in hell got it all backwards. He says, if you're mean, you don't go to hell. He said, I agree. Hell is this really hot place, lots of fire, all kinds of screaming and what have you. And upstairs, and then you also have heaven where it's really soft, comfortable places. You sit and you listen to music. He goes, but you got it backwards. If you're really, really mean, if you're really a nasty person, you get told, go upstairs, sit on the really fluffy, cushiony tables, play absolutely mind-numbingly boring games, listen to elevator music, and sit there in silence. Not a word. If you're really, really nice, if you're on the whole, if you're nice, you're going to hell. And the nicer you are, the better your position. So instead of being punished for being nice, you've been nice all your life, now you got to sit up there quietly. Instead of that, he goes, you go down to hell and you attend the biggest freaking intergalactic party ever conceived. Now, here's the other neat little part about it. And I know this for what I consider a fact. Not about to prove it to you. You don't have to believe me. Okay? But your pets, even if your pets, and I'm not talking just cats, dogs, and fish. Okay? I had a plant that I got along with famously. He was a croton, which it's a type of plant. Don't ask me to be more specific. Okay? But his name was Gordon, and he was a coffee addict. Now, we got along great. I'm absolutely certain he's going to be there when I get there. But all of these people go to the same place. Okay? Now, yes, you have to go to this wonderful you've got to go through that light. What do we have here? I'm just looking to see what we've got. Yeah, and we're starting out quiet. I was kind of expecting it, considering we've been dead for a while, dead in the air for a while. But when you get over there, the whole purpose of passing over, you've got essentially your body is your vehicle. Okay? Now, just like with a car, sooner or later, the car you're driving will break down. You get out of your car, you walk around for a while, and I'm talking an actual physical automobile. You walk around for a while. Okay? And sooner or later, you pick a vehicle you like. You may go to a couple of different dealerships, talk to a couple of different salespeople. Then you pick the vehicle. And you get into the vehicle and you drive off. And it's a little clunky to start with because you're learning how to drive. Now, here's the thing. When you're born again, average turnaround time, by the way, for remaining human is 70 years. Now, it usually takes place on the other side of the world, primarily because it cuts down on the amount of turmoil in your current life. But during that gala, where you're wandering around talking to people, okay, and setting up your day. Yeah, I was thinking that myself there, LA. LA goes, I picked a real lemon this go around. But I do think to talk about a storm that way is a bit of a hiccup. Oh, you're referring to your body. My apologies. But yeah, this body's a game girl and still running. When you get over there, you interact with various different people. You're the one laying out what your life is going to look like. What wisdoms are you coming to this world to experience? That's the real kicker to it. The contract you keep hearing about is a contract with yourself. Okay, this is what you're coming to gain wisdom around. And that wisdom boils down to, the easy one to look at is, okay, you're coming to gain wisdom around cancer or around living with cancer. Okay. And you come in now, your decisions this lifetime what your actions are, will determine whether you gain the wisdom around cancer by literally developing it or by working with people that did. Operation Shutdown. The short answer to that is yes. Operation Shutdown is asked, after hearing about your plant Gordon, it made me wonder, do plants reincarnate? Plants, rocks, stones. You remember the old pet rock from the 70s? These were the real fashion aficionados of the sedimentary kind or of the volcanic kind. Okay, but yes, plants, animals, elementals, they all reincarnate. They are just simply another vehicle. It's kind of like when you're done with your body, with your car. Maybe you decide you're going to do something a little different. You're going to go back. You're going to get a motorcycle instead. Now, to be honest, I've never tried figuring out the life turnaround of the various plants or animals. I've stuck to just simply looking at human turnaround time. But when you figure it out, when you get over there, you lay everything out that you'd like. Your parents you pick. This is not a logical, gee, I'm going to pick Mr. and Mrs. whoever because I like them personally. It's more an issue of this is a family I'm coming into because the connections they've already got or the ones they're planning on having are ones that I can deal with. Now understand, these incarnations can be set up literally generations ahead of time. Time doesn't work the same way on the far side as it does here. But you got to remember that it's a question of what you came to deal with. So, of course, we have that neat little catch of, well, what if I end up dying early? There are times when people come in only to experience birth. That's all they're coming for. So they come in, they get born, and the child comes through and gets the body dies. That is when another soul can swap over it, just like that. This soul swap can happen when somebody passes away and comes back. Now, there's something called, and we'll get into these later, but there's another type of existence called a walk-in. Okay, that is a discussion for another day. But when we're looking at getting over there, you get over there, and I kid you not, I've seen this, it's hilarious once you're used to going over. But you walk out of this great big fog into what amounts to a massive gala. Now, whatever you believe you're going to face in the afterlife, whether it's you're going to heaven, you're going to hell, you're going to die. When you die, you get buried in a pine box or in a hole, and you get left there. Whatever it is you believe, it's there. Okay? And yes, some of you believe that, that you get all these special rewards. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Whatever you believe, those resting places do exist. Whatever you've been told about what's awaiting you over there, the odds are they didn't tell you the reality behind it. Now, in all fairness, there are very few people that have literally gotten across the border. There's lots that say, hey, I went into the light, I went through the light, I passed into the light, I saw this wonderful picture on the other side, and then I was sent back. Right. First time I pulled that one, I ran into what I know is God. And yes, I believe wholeheartedly in God. And here's why I use the term God. I'm lazy. 3 letters, 1 syllable. It works. Okay. When I met him, his first comment to me was, Keith, you don't belong here yet. I went, well, the door was open. No, the door wasn't open. It says the door was open when I came through it. No, it wasn't. Well, this went back and forth for a coon's age. And finally, he looks at me and goes, you opened the door. I said, well, of course I opened the door, but it was open when I went through it. Then he promptly turned around and told me I had to go back because I had work to do. Okay. My comment to him was, I didn't agree to this abuse. Sad to say, that's what I'm dealing with. And I'm not getting into that any further. But when you get over there, okay, you will run into all kinds of people. Now, I got some bad news for you. Okay. There is only one of each person. Okay. For those of you that remember, any of your past lives, when you get over there, this is great. You'll meet all kinds of people from your past lives. But I hate to tell you this. Well, no, I don't. There was only one Alexander the Great. There was only one Yeshua. There was only one Mary, Queen of Scots. Okay, most of your past lives were probably inconsequential. Okay, one of my best past lives, quite frankly, was a fisherman. And I was a fisherman. And I did get to meet and to reconnect with my girlfriend, from that lifetime, many passings ago. Okay, I met her again. Okay, ended up meeting her in this world. But when you die, okay, you're going to see the world from a very different perspective. And yes, by the way, there is that neat little thing. You get over there and you're going, but what if I've got things I want to finish off that I'm not ready to die? Your death is not written in stone. Okay? You might have written about your death while you were stoned. But I will tell you, back 2,000 years ago, writing something while you were being stoned didn't work all that well. Okay, LA's going, if you have a bitter enemy in life, do you have to see that person on the other side? The answer to that, and I don't do this very often, is absolutely 100% no. You do not. Now, here's the kicker to it. The anger that you felt, that will be left behind in the passing. The anger is an emotional thing built of your current body. Okay, but if you've got a bitter enemy in life and you just don't desire to deal with it, you don't have to. There's nothing that says you've got to make amends with everybody. You are told, while you're going through the transition, people will tell you that it's best to forgive the individual, even on your deathbed there, when you're first getting over there. Forgive them enough that you don't drag the anger with you. Now, I spent a lot of time on the other side. I keep looking at it going, why do I keep coming back? Things are not improving because people aren't on the whole listening. But I watched somebody do this. Now, I had a client come to me, and her husband had passed away, and he had told her flat out, or more to the point, he had told her flat out he didn't believe in the past life thing or in the afterlife thing at all. But he told her, he goes, if it is real, then I will find a way to make contact. So now I got that backwards. she told him she was the one that passed first. Let me run that backwards. Nope. He told her he didn't believe it, but if there was a way, because he believed wholeheartedly he was going to be buried in a coffin, and that's where he was going to stay. Okay, now here's the way it went on that one. And I was there to watch this happen. Now here's what you got to realize. Time-wise, in the Bible, and don't ask me to quote passages, okay, this funny thing called the Bible, somewhere in here. No, I didn't write this book, but I have read over 2/3 of it now. In this book, it tells you a day is as 1,000 years. Okay, oh, look at that. The binding's about to go. I am going to have to. This Bible is literally 60 years old. But he told her that's what he would do. Well, now, a day is as 1,000 years. Okay, now when you work that out, that means a second works out to about 4.5 days. A minute works out to about 9 months. Do your own math on that. Okay, but he told her, he says, I don't believe it. I know I'm going to a coffin. Right. So I watched the guy, and we identified who he was, and I went looking for him. And I watched this guy come out of the fog bank into the gala. And I kid you not, this happens all the time. He walks in, there's people all over the place milling about, lots of talking going on, and there are literally billions of people showing up at the same time. Bear in mind, fish, animals, plants, planets, they're all showing up there. Okay, without their bodies. Okay, they're showing up just the soul. But they're all interacting. This guy walks into this gala and he looks around. He's like, well, where are the coffins? Right? Invariably, somebody will do it. Usually a lot of people. This one guy looks at him and goes, oh, just down the hall. Woo Rider, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, and, oh, I should do this, shouldn't I? Go way back up here. And Operation Shutdown, you did come in with the gold. And this means, scrolling down, way down, we have Woo coming in with the silver. Now, he walks out and everybody's like, oh, just go down the hall, pick it, there's lots of coffins down there, pick one. So the guy gets in, guy gets into the room, looks around, there are aisles, and there are literally miles of coffins. He walks in, picks one, gets up, lays down in it, lays down on his back, puts his arms across the chest, just like you're shown when people pass away. And he lays down. Well, he lays down for about 5 minutes. All of a sudden, he wakes up, pops his eyes open, sits up and goes, I laid down in that coffin. The moment he got out of the coffin, we had a full connection for the guy, or for the woman. Okay, and everything came clear. I went, here's the whole situation. Right. And she looks at me and she goes, well, why did it take him 4 years? I said, for you, it was 4 years. For him, it was all of about 5 minutes. Okay. And what ended up happening, that brought her the closure she required. Now, most of the time when somebody passes away, they hang on to the life that means the most, the life image that they find themselves really attached to. I've run into people this lifetime where they were so attached to a former lifetime as an alien, they just could not relate to this world at all. Okay, but even those people end up over on the other side of the veil. Okay, so The guy comes out, he makes contact again, and this is going on constantly. You watch people coming in. I was told I was going to heaven. No problem. Up the stairs, pick a seat. Okay. And yeah, you're there for all eternity. But here's the kicker to it. Okay. Here's the thing they don't tell you. Eternity means when you figure out you don't have to stay there. Okay. You go if you believe you're going to heaven, doesn't matter what anybody else believes. You could be the most disgusting individual on the planet. Okay, you may have seen somebody you consider just the lowest life of all. Your opinion of them does not tell where they end up. Okay, so pick the most vile person you can think of that you figure belongs in hell. If they feel they belong in heaven, that's where they're going. Okay, but they go up there, they pick a seat, sit down. I'm telling you, elevator music is not all it's cut out to be. Okay, but you go up there, you sit down. Now, humans tell you when you die, you cannot come back. That's just the way it is. They're mistaken. Okay, because of the fact that it takes a few minutes when you get over there. Okay, you can absolutely pass away here, like for instance on an operating table, and turn around and go and end up coming back. God knows I keep getting thrown out. By the way, really bad, depressing news for you. My coffee pot died today. And for those of you that like coffee, I know that's a terrible thing to happen. But when you get over there, you go up to heaven, you sit there until you get bored. And rest assured, that may take you forever and a day. Average turnaround time is about 70 years to become a human again. Okay, now I went through this myself. Okay, there was a lifetime when I knew I was such a volatile individual, and in all fairness, I shouldn't say that lifetime was all that nasty. Okay, I just ripped off everybody, so I knew I was going to hell. So here I go. I go traipsing down into hell because you go, well, I thought I was supposed to be burning in hell for all eternity. Oh, no problem. Just take the stairs, hang a lamp, you're fine. Okay, you'll find it. Somebody will help you out. You get down there. And somebody grabs hold of me and throws me into the river. Okay, now you hear about the river Styx and the burning hot tubs and the incredible racks. I'm telling you, they're real. You don't have to believe me. As one person said, if you believe in God, okay, if you live your life as though God doesn't exist, you better pray you're right. So I get tossed into the river. Now, needless to say, way too flaming hot, literally. Okay, so I kept trying to get back out. And every time I did, somebody would push me back in. And this went on for I have no idea how long. Okay. And finally I get to my feet. I finally get to my feet. And I looked at this one guy and said, "Will you knock it off? I'm trying to get out of this." And the guy all of a sudden he steps back and goes, "Hey, no problem." I was just dumbfounded. It's like, what do you mean no problem? I was told I was going to be in there forever. Right. So he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and throws me back in again. Time uncountable passes. I keep trying to get out. I keep getting shoved back in. Eventually, I get back to the same point. Knock it off. Guy backs up, goes, "No problem." Right. And I went, "Okay." and I walked off. I was no longer being thrown in the pit. Okay. I got the opportunity to play with people's entrails on the rack. Okay. I just looked at what they were doing, and it's like, well, that's a different experience. You know. So, of course, I went, can I try that? What do these guys do? Grab me, throw me on the rack, and start tearing my body apart. And again, this goes on constantly for who knows how long until I finally got the message and told them to stop. They did. I got off the rack, carried on. Okay, the catch is this. I can tell you this because you're going to forget it. Okay, when you pass away, all that memory you've got locked in your corporeal brain, yes, it gets filed in the Akashic records. But until you get to a point where you're ready to access them again, you can't get the info. Okay, so I finally got that sorted around. Then I'm down there. It's like, okay, I see a staircase. I know I came down one, so that's got to be the way out. So I'm going to go back up the staircase. Now, bear in mind, I started off in hell. Okay. Then I turned around and I went to heaven. Okay. I just wanted to see what it was. I'm telling you, hell's a lot more fun. By the way, okay, understand the very big factor here. When you're talking about the life after this one, okay, understand this is not a question of going, oh, I'm talking to a pastor and going, please forgive my sins. The pastor isn't the one that does it. You are. Okay. In the religious realm, okay, day-to-day life in our world, okay, it is very important that you realize one little detail. Okay. All the spiritual guidance, all the help in the world, absolutely imperative. Do what you can with it. But when you get over there, a human's input, any corporeal form's input, isn't going to do a thing for you. Okay? But I got over there and eventually got it worked around. Now I show up and I get told, I get told, like, Keith, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm just coming down to see a few old friends of mine. Okay, bear in mind I've had some pretty volatile friendships, pretty volatile lifetimes. The neat part about it, when we take a look at the idea of near-death experience, you get to experience the passing away. Okay, you get to experience your life flashing before your eyes. And here's a neat little trick, or a neat little piece of information, which I'm going to put it to you this way. Do not do this, okay? But if you happen to pass away during your lifetime and then come back, the last part of your life, every time you pass away, you go through the same thing. If you get sent back, or you choose to come back because you're not finished, then your next segment of your life flashing before your eyes will only be from the last time you came back. Okay, so if you died in January and you come back in March, then you go through, you've already done the purge in January. So when you get to June, if you die again, you're only getting the flash from January until June. Okay, now needless to say, January to March is pretty boring. You're dead. And don't kid yourself. The dead have feelings as well. But when you're looking at the whole issue of over there, a near-death experience literally boils down to you've left your body. The car stalled. Okay, sometimes you can get your car to work again, and you come back and carry on. This is why that neat little issue of a near-death experience comes in. I just gave up on the near thing and went straight for the whole problem. Okay, that is literally the long and the short of it is near death means you actually physically survived or came back. But none of it absolves you of any karmic responsibility. All of it will be recorded. Your reactions, your interactions, your introspections, they all get recorded in your section of the Akashic records. Okay, and yes, you got full access to them, even while you're alive. You've got full access, but what you got to realize is that it's up to you to decide how you're going to live your life. Are you going to follow somebody else's dictates on what is good and what is bad, or are you going to follow your heart? And here's a kicker. You know, here's a key for you. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If you desire to be treated decently, treat people decently. Okay. If you desire to be bullied, absolutely kick the heck out of somebody. You'll get bullied because there's always somebody bigger, always somebody better, always somebody richer, and yes, even always somebody a little denser. Okay. Now, when we're dealing with near death, one of the biggest things you got to look at and that I recommend is if you have a near death experience, something you cannot explain per se, write it down as soon as you've got it, even if it's only in point form. This will enable you to hold on to the memory for longer. Okay, and I've seen a staggering number of them. Okay, it's wonderful watching the people come in. You watch these billions of entities coming in. Okay, and asking the same question. You got all kinds of people going, oh, you're looking for hell, it's down there. Oh, you thought when you drowned you were going to be in the bottom of a pool for the rest of eternity? There it is. Okay, but understand, the end of eternity is when you figure out you don't have to stay there. Some of us are quick learners, some are slow. My average turnaround time seems to be about 7 years. Okay, this lifetime I passed away in 1956. Okay, I don't know what month I passed away. I do know it was in Chicago Memorial. Okay, I died in 1956. 1963, I was born here. Well, I was born in Richmond, BC. Okay, but that separation meant the odds of me running into anybody I'd known before were pretty minimal. Okay, and yes, we are going to be looking at near-death experiences and this sort of thing as we go along. And again, if you got questions, absolutely ask. Now, I do see we've managed to get up to, well, I don't know how many views we've had yet, but we've got 8. We've had 8 in the chat room for the longest time. But a near-death experience is simply, the best way I can look at it, is you've got a car, it's running fine, it stalls. So you get out, do a little work under the hood, and you fire the car up again. And you're back on the go with the same vehicle. Sooner or later, that vehicle will die. When it does, you gotta go find a new one. And that's when you lay out the wisdoms you're looking to gain. Nobody tells you you have to do this. Okay? And, people say, well, I've been asked, do you have to reincarnate here? The answer is an unequivocal no. The only thing you have to do is reincarnate in the third dimension. Whether you decide to come in as a ghost, a human, a plant, an animal, you get the picture. Okay, but you have to find all your bits and pieces across the third dimension. When you get them all back, you get to go back to the hub. Okay, and when you get back to the hub, that's when you get the option of going to another dimension. You got 12 total to choose from. You happen to be in the third. And for all I know, you may well have been in one of the other dimensions already. But that's your call. Okay, you get to come and go. You can even come back and do another run in the third dimension. I will warn you, it takes eons to find all the bits and pieces. Lauren, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day is going well. And yes, we are fine. We are back, and we will be back as long as either I don't die or technology doesn't die, which is what happened earlier. Okay, and by the way, Wu is in with silver. That means, Lauren, you have shown up with the bronze. But we have a wonderful setup with the near-death experience. It is another way to look at what's going on. And here's the other kicker. When you get over there, you can look at the world behind that's left behind, and you can see what the people that are going through because of your passing. You can see what they're feeling. Okay. Within reason. LA's going, can a person wait for another person before they cross over? They can, but there is a certain amount of leeway. For instance, if your vehicle has broken down to the point that it just cannot keep running, you will end up with your body dying. But you can stay in spirit form until the other person gets there. And before you jump on that, there is no time limit. You're not told you have to go to the gala right away. Okay, you really aren't. Okay, you get to go through the light when you choose. Now, there is that neat little problem where some people can't find the light after the initial pass. This is where you get people like me that can get over there, take the person by the hand and go, okay, here's where the light is. And we help them cross over. And I'm pretty certain that there are a few people in this room that can do exactly the same thing. Oh, should do something here. What I'm looking for is literally my calendar, because I see we're getting down to the end here. So what do we got? Near death is there. So tomorrow we are going to be looking at numerology, a different approach, primarily because I work with base 12. Then we'll be going with tarot, some notable discrepancies. Bear in mind, I've been reading tarot I started when I was 16. So I'm looking at almost 50 years. And then we'll be looking at those. I got to lay out the rest of them. But that gives us a place to start. And again, if you got it, Lauren, I missed it. There we are. I see that. Thank you very much, LA. Just a quick reminder, guys. If you put the questions in all caps, it's easier for me to find. But Lauren. Lauren goes, is there anything to the palms and having an M on them? Okay. Now, number one, the palm reading, I presume that's what you're referring to, is yes. Okay, there's definitely stuff. Your palm basically is giving you a transcript of the scale, of the tools you came in with. It's kind of along the same lines as an astrological natal chart. But if you find an M, okay, what I've always understood with it is if you find an M, depending on where it's sitting, okay, it literally helps you understand that it helps you connect with with the feminine side of life, the creative side. The stronger that M, and again, it can vary slightly depending on where in the palm it is. Normally, it'll be right in the middle of the palm. Okay, these people, if you got an M, you're likely one of the more sensitive people around that you run into. And what do we got here? Ouch. No fun. Yeah. And do understand something very important there, Lauren. I was just reading what you wrote. Thank you for the heads up on the 10-minute mark there, LA. Sometimes a loved one, especially in a case like this, because your grandmother, the reality of it is your grandmother was absolutely attached to the family, to caring for the family. So quite often a spirit will overlay a living person to help you feel more at ease while they do what they have to. Okay. But by doing an overlay, it helps you calm down, helps you relax while you're coming to terms with the whole concept of where you are. Okay, and the fact that the munchkin's being looked after. You know, why doesn't that surprise me there, Lauren? Lauren's just going, my granny had a strong spirit. It was beautiful. My nanny, she lived until she was 95. At 91, she was still cutting a rug. Old term, she was still dancing. But when you're dealing with this whole idea of near death, quite often you'll meet people you forgot about. Okay, it'll bring them back to mind, and this is why you see somebody when they're on that deathbed coma, where you'll hear them talking in their first tongue. Okay, to somebody. Well, the fact of the matter is, the room you're in is likely to be filled with people waiting for you to show up. What do we got? Lauren's going, I heard that the M on the palms can mean if you choose, you don't have to reincarnate again. Well, here's the kicker. That is right. In a manner of speaking, the M's got nothing to do with it, though. Everybody has the right to reincarnate or not. Okay. But in order to find your soulmate, okay, and that's another topic for another day. If you're in order to find your soulmate and complete the reassembly of yourself and remembering who and what you are, okay, to do that, you've got to take on a viable form. Now, that doesn't always mean corporeal. Maybe you're going to become an air elemental, okay, or a water elemental, a Waylosh. In order to track down a soulmate. Yeah, Lauren's just saying, well, I saw a portal open up in the hospital room too, on the wall. That's the white light most people talk about. And yeah, that is the first portal that shows up. It's not the only way to get there, but that's the easy one. When it shows up, if you're ready to go through the portal. You'll end up in the gala. You'll go through the whole 9 yards. Okay, but rest assured. Okay, when you get over there, then it's up to you, and you start planning when you're coming back. Because remember, It's a mutual thing that you're dealing with. And look at that. So near-death experience is, and for me, it's a wonderful thing. It's a bit redundant. I'm thinking at least 9 and probably a 10th. Okay. Then now, of course, I do have the advantage, and you guys, if you've done this often enough, it becomes second place. It becomes second nature. I can actually come and go as I choose now. And I'll tell you, much happier going without the heart attack than I am going with it. But when we're looking at, ouch, that was painful. What have we got? Yeah, tomorrow we are going to be looking at numerology base 12. And there's some interesting shifts you'll find there. Much like when we discussed the whole idea of astrology. Then we're going to take a look at tarot, another one of the many common tools. Okay, with that in mind, okay, I do want to say thank you so much to all of you for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And thanks so much for the questions. I will be back again tomorrow, assuming we don't have complications. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes,